about Coach Saban. I tweeted this out yesterday. He was poised. He was polished. He was articulate. I mean, my goodness, what a showcase to have Coach Saban on the biggest stage in the NFL. Like, no more eyeballs are going to be, within the NFL within the next couple months. But to have him on the forefront, it was amazing to see Coach Saban just flourish. I mean, he was meant to do that. He was meant to coach football. Some people have it. Coach Saban has it. What did you think about his overall delivery yesterday on the NFL draft?
I mean, I think Coach Saban did an absolute awesome job. He was charismatic when he had to be. He was serious when he had to be. And most importantly, that I appreciate, people like me, he knows his football.
Yes.
He broke down speed to power. He broke down each player and the pluses and the minuses that they brought to the stage. You know, the guy's a regular.
Yeah.
The guy's a regular. He's normal in front of the camera. And I think I read a quote where he said, what did he say, man? It was something like, you can't please everybody or make everybody happy. No, if you want to make everybody happy, don't be a leader. Go sell ice cream.
Yep.
You know, so Coach Saban was a normal. He's a natural. I think people gravitate to him. I think people forgot that he used to be the Bama coach and gave him a chance. And he absolutely knocked it out the park. That's a whole fact.
Absolutely. And you look at the coach that is exiting Alabama's program, sending 3 in the first round with J.C. Latham, Dallas Turner, who, by the way, was an absolute steal by the Minnesota Vikings. My goodness. And then you have a division rival of the Vikings, the Detroit Lions, going after Terrion Arnold. And, those are 2 late-round picks that I think are going to absolutely flourish. I mean, Dallas Turner coming in at 17 absolutely shocked me. But Coach Saban even said last night on the NFL draft, the game has changed to an offensive-minded game. You look at all the quarterbacks that went off the board. I was surprised. Undefeated. Let me know. Were you guys surprised to see Bo Nix go off the board that early? I felt that some of the quarterbacks, even J.J. McCarthy, look, the great job that he did, I thought you could have got some of those guys in the later rounds or in like years past. Those guys would have been third-round picks, in my opinion. But now you need quarterbacks. You need wide receivers. I thought, Kansas City landing, Xavier Worthy was big. The 49ers pickups, I was, I guess, excited about that a little bit. But I think Coach Saban, one thing that he said within his delivery, think about this, and I was thinking about this on my way to my workout. He's known these players since they were 9th grade, 8th grade. Yeah. He's had an opportunity to visit with their parents. What better person to talk about the players who played against them, right? Who coached them. Yeah. It was amazing to see. Like, for example, he gave it to Amarius Mims. Right, he really did. Yeah. He checked him up and down, said what he needed to be said. Saban didn't hold back. And the great thing about it was I was wondering how he was going to kind of foster his emotions when guys from Alabama got picked. And he did what any coach would do. He was happy about those guys, elated about what they've done because he's seen them work for day one. Your thoughts on, let's just start with J.C. Latham going to Tennessee. Tennessee going to absolutely tighten up. I really like J.C. Latham's game because I felt that he played too heavy last year, but I saw him in the pro day. Looked fantastic. So your thoughts on J.C. Latham going to Tennessee?
My thoughts on J.C. going to Tennessee is I didn't like him going to Tennessee. And it's only because, not for the draft status, I just don't like the Titans. I don't like the offense they run.
Yeah.
Maybe with a new coach, though. And I'm basing my hypothesis on Vrabel. Vrabel was a defensive guy. I don't really like how they did Derrick Henry. They gave Tannehill that huge contract, and then they didn't want to pay Derrick. I don't like that. But as far as his draft stats going to the Titans, I think you're starting to see what the Titans want to do for the future.
Yeah.
They got a new quarterback in Will Levis.
Yeah.
They got a new coach, an offensive guy. Now they bring in J.C. Latham to play left or right tackle, right? What do you do when you have a young quarterback? You protect. Right. So I'm ecstatic for him as far as the pick is concerned. And I think JC would do JC Latham things. Shout out to Jay Townsend, man. OG Jay Townsend gifted 5 more Bama football on YouTube with Kyle Henderson memberships, trying to keep everybody green. Shout out to the OG himself. Thank you, Jay. We appreciate you.
Yeah, and if you rewind to a couple picks before that, and of course we appreciate you, Jay Townsend, coming in with the undefeated gear. The Atlanta Falcons GM and the owner were going at it. I mean, because here you have, Atlanta has just paid for a quarterback. What was it? $180 million. And what are they going to pay? What are they going to pay Michael? Penix? Like, how much are they going to pay him? right?
Yep.
I think they are going to be kicking themselves. I think that the teams that passed on Dallas Turner are going to be kicking themselves. I think J.C. Latham will be very productive, and I think that he's going to have a really great career with the Titans. But I think one player that could be potentially a game changer from day one is Dallas Turner. His combine performance speaks for itself. His on-the-play performance speaks for itself. I was really, really surprised that he fell to 17. I think the Minnesota Vikings really got a steal in him. And then with Terrion Arnold, you look to the Lions. The last couple of drafts, they've went with guys from Alabama, right? Help me out on this, Undefeated. You have Jahmyr Gibbs. You have Brian Branch. You have now Terrion, and who am I missing? Jameis Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, the Detroit, Alabama Crimson Tide. And we saw that a couple years ago with, like, the Washington Commanders. But before they were Commanders, the Redskins, it was kind of like Washington Roll Tide. So I really like the pickups there. So, in guys who will be picked up in Alabama, it's not done yet. You're going to have more guys go off the board in rounds 2 and 3 from Alabama. But think about this. The selling point for Alabama has always been not only can Coach Saban get you to the College Football National Championship or the playoffs, but can also get you into the NFL. And that's kind of one of the allures coming to Alabama. Now, you have a very young coach, and Coach Kalen Deboer. He sent 3 guys to the first round last night. Right?
That's a fact.
And you think about from the quarterback position, you look at the development of Michael Penix, you look at Roma Duze, right? The third player that they sent in the draft, that speaks volumes. And I think that fits on brand with what Alabama continues to do, is to develop players. So I think that's an added selling point. Saban ends, I think, with 47 first-round draft picks, right? And then you have Coach Kalen Deboer, who just added 3 more. So that's on brand where Alabama football is. Talk about that in terms of Coach Kalen Deboer continuing to showcase that he can develop players to get them to the NFL as well.
To all who think Coach Deboer was just a product of the Pac-12 and he can't recruit or he can't develop guys, I want you to know he had 3 first-round picks in this draft, the same as Alabama, right? He had a quarterback, he had a receiver, and he had an offensive lineman, right? So when you look at that, and you look at the guys that came to Washington and the development process, a lot of these guys he dealt with weren't, and I'm not dissing them, I'm not saying nothing bad about those guys, but a lot of those kids were not as highly recruited as some of the kids who came to Bama. So you put this guy into a Bama system, into the resources of a place like University of Alabama, have no fear. Have no fear, guys. It's going to pick right back up where it left off.
Yeah, and I think when you look to kind of the transfer portal and the players that have stayed at Alabama, I think they have quickly understood that, look, this isn't going to change much in terms of the development process. And I know it's early, and I know they haven't played a game, and things can change or whatever, but I think the message has been established early on. You lose, Brockemeyer, and, I think there was a couple other, lesser-known people to hit the portal from Alabama, but overwhelmingly, there hasn't been a lot of movement. And I think it's just because these guys have completely bought in. So to see Coach Kalen Deboer, and it was kind of low key, right? It was kind of more about Saban and sending his players off. But I mean, 3 players in the first round from Washington, really impressive. And I think that's going to continue with next year as you look to the guys that are on the board for Alabama going into this 2024 season. So, I like the NFL draft. I'm excited to see which players go off today. What else are we watching for? Who else do you think goes in? I know Kool-Aid, he had a draft party and he'll get picked up in the second round, I'm assuming. You have Burton, you have Justin Eboigbe, probably Jace in the way later rounds, Will Reichert as well. So there's still a lot of draft-eligible players from Alabama that you're going to see go on the board for the next couple of days. I noticed this, Coach, you were talking about kind of some of the drip from the players. I personally didn't like Caleb Williams' attire. That just wasn't me.
Yeah.
You know who I thought looked really good, if you caught like the pre-NFL draft, was Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Cam Newton looked crisp. It was kind of like modern with classic, and then he had the hat on top, but I really wasn't feeling, Broswell. Thank you, Caleb King. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
But I didn't like Caleb Williams' gear. I did like Terrion Arnold's attire. I didn't like Dallas Turner. I didn't like that.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it. But
I just didn't.
The green suit with the Chuck Taylor.
No, I wasn't. Yeah, but
I wasn't feeling that.
Terrion looked fresh though, and I love. So like, let's spend a minute on Terrion.
Yeah,
that smile, that allure, that personality. Like the Detroit Lions tweeted out this picture, and they're like, "We feel the same." Like that guy. Can you imagine? This is how. So when you want something really bad. If you've ever read The Alchemist, the world will help you achieve it. Okay, right? Book by Paulo Coelho. And I think like Terrion Arnold is living that life. And to be able to be picked, not only in the first round of the NFL draft, but by the Detroit Lions in the home city of Detroit. Like this guy is like living it, right, Coach?
Yeah, and that's true. And I get it. I know Dallas Turner. And I know these were Ricks, I know, but they always had the Chuck Taylor feel to me, right? I know all about them, but I'm just saying I call them they to me they just had the Chuck Taylor feel, right? I think even Christian Dior shoes, I think, are the ugliest shoes on the planet, cost you $1,000 for a pair of kicks. But here's the thing, all that's what you said is 100% correct, man. But I do think sometimes, guys, we overdo it with the drip. Like, I liked Kool-Aid's outfit. When Kool-Aid pulled up, I loved the outfit he had on. He was fresh, man. Had the bag to go with it, the car. Man, he was fresh, right? But I'm an old school dude, man, right? I don't know, Kyle. It seems like with the drip, if you don't get picked where you want to get picked, it takes something away from being clean. I'd rather be at home with a t-shirt on or go where I think I'm gonna get picked, right? Because at the end of the day, that's all they're gonna remember.
No,
that's all they're gonna remember. You can right now, last year's drip. Can you tell me what anybody had on right now?
No, the only person that I remember is actually Coach Saban from last year, because he had the pink blazer on. That was the only thing that I remember, right? Coach, what are you drinking over here? Is that some ocean spray?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I'm on the cranberry.
Oh, you're on the cranberry. Oh, I like that, man.
See, that says 0 sugar.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, good for you, man. Wonderful. I like that, man. That's the only one that I remember for last year. But anyways, I thought Coach Saban just did a really great job.
Let me ask you something, Kyle. I want to know how you feel about this. The Falcons, like we talked about it, but I want to get your feelings on it. The Falcons going to pay Kirk Cousins probably about $44-45 million a year, right? A well over 30 quarterback who's coming off a bad injury.
Yep.
Now they use their first pick. They need pass rush help. They need cornerback help. They need D-line help. They need offensive line help. Now they use their first round pick on another quarterback who they're going to have to pay $15-20 million to. What's your real feelings on that pick?
I mean, it was ridiculous. I think that if they had any sense to look at the quarterbacks that were in this year's draft, I mean, we were probably surprised that there was so many quarterbacks taken in the first round, but I mean, those guys study. That's like what they do. So probably even before they took Kirk Cousins, they knew going in before that they were going to have to take a quarterback. So it's amazing to me to see them sign Kirk Cousins, because you're right. Like, what are they going to pay both of those players? And if they are hurting on the defensive side of the ball, they certainly missed out on Dallas Turner, right? If they're hurting on the offensive line, they missed out on J.C. Latham. I thought it was, Falcons fans, I think, were really upset. And not because you're getting Michael Penix Jr., right? Because he can thread the ball, right? Despite some of the injuries that I didn't even know about. It was interesting, kind of like when Kuiper breaks down the players, he kind of lists like all their injuries that they've ever had, right? Like ingrown toenail and this and that and broken index finger. And you're like, my goodness, geez, how's this guy still walking? These are different players, right? They have different levels of, of healthcare that they're young guys. So I'm not mad about the pick. I think that Michael Penix Jr. is a really great quarterback, and I think I have no idea what's going to happen. Think about what's on Michael Penix's mind too. He's probably going in there like, I'm gonna compete for the job. And what's Kirk Cousins thinking? He's like, I just got paid.
What's Kirk Cousins thinking? Right. What's Kirk thinking?
I got paid because how much is that of that contract is guaranteed? Like, is that $100 million?
It's 100 of 180 million is guaranteed.
That's what I'm saying. Guaranteed. He don't care. He's like, I'll set the pine for $100 million. So, I don't know. So that's a lack of leadership. But like I was saying earlier, I mean, Dallas Turner is going to make you pay. And the NFL, it's always evolving. It's what do they call it? A copycat type system. So offense is always going to be in play, but the defense players, even still on the board, I think there's a lot that you can kind of go through, but really surprised to see Dallas turn. That was kind of like the shocker to see him. And look, I get it. He's still in the first round, but to see him go all the way to 17, I think that was a really big steal for the Vikings.
Let me ask you this, Cal. What do you think? We know Dallas Turner is probably the biggest steal in the draft. What do you feel is the biggest stretch? Who really reached to pick someone too early, you think?
I think probably the Broncos going with Bo Nix, to be honest. I was surprised to see that. I think that Bo Nix, it's amazing to see. I mean, what was he in college for, like 6 years, 5 years? So he does have a lot of experience for sure, but I was absolutely shocked that they took him. I think if the Denver really wanted a quarterback, they could have got a quarterback. They probably could have got Bo Nix in the 3rd or 4th round, right? I honestly, I think, I don't know. I mean, so I was really surprised to see that. I think even J.J. McCarthy too. I think that was an early pick as well. I think that was kind of a stretch. Maybe the guy, I can't, there was some other picks that I certainly do agree with. Like, I know people kind of going back and forth about Drake May. I like Drake May as a quarterback. Remember, he was committed to Alabama. I don't know if he was, the 3rd, best pick, overall, but I don't know. I just thought that in terms of like a stretch, Bo Nix was the one that I was like, what? Bo Nix? Are you serious? Like, I think he'll be a quality, reserve or backup or whatever, but I don't think he's like a day one starter.
Yeah, all facts. I was shocked to see Sean Payton reach and grab Bo so early.
For sure.
But that just goes to show you, once 2 or 3 quarterbacks come off the board back to back, everybody else start panicking.
Copycat.
We better go get our guy. Go get our guy. My stretch was probably Amarius Mims. Now, Amarius Mims is 6'8", 355. I mean, the guy has got he's a people mover.
Yeah.
But his pass pro was not very good. I think he's only had a few starts. He kept getting hurt, had an ankle injury, a hamstring injury, just all these different things. And to take him that high, I think you could have got him a little later. I really do. So the stretch for the Bengals and to go get him like that, that was a real stretch for me. I think Coach Saban hit the nail right on the head with him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm curious to see what happens, in days 2 and days 3. I think, just like Caleb pointed out, Chris Brazo is still on the board, and I think he's going to be a really good addition to any locker room. And I think with his overall athleticism, and I think he'll add a lot. Kool-Aid, I can't wait to see where Kool-Aid is drafted. Same thing with, I guess, Will Reichard and Justin Mbogbe and Jace. So I appreciate you letting me hop on for this back end segment on Friday, Coach. I have Ty coming in at 9:30. He'll be rapping with you, and then you guys just close it out. But I appreciate you guys. Have a beautiful Saturday. We'll be back as news happens, and we'll keep you posted right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Please support Coach Sean like you guys would support me. Coach Sean, do your thing, man, and I appreciate you.
Roll Tide.